You have a superpower. To you, the age of a thing is the only thing that determines how tough something is. A freshly smelted block of tungsten would crumple like spun sugar, while an antique book might as well be indestructible. The first time I noticed something was wrong, I was changing a light bulb in Gallery 204. The fresh bulb shattered like spun sugar between my fingers, while the century-old bronze statue I steadied myself against felt as solid as reinforced steel. Working security at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, you develop a certain relationship with old things. But this was different. I spent the rest of my shift testing, touching, comparing. New items crumbled at my touch. The older something was, the more indestructible it became. "Hey Marcus, you okay?" Riley from conservation called out as I stood transfixed before a display case. "You've been staring at that Ming vase for 20 minutes. "Just admiring the craftsmanship," I replied, forcing a smile. I couldn't tell her I was trying to process how I just crushed a brand new pen to powder while barely able to scratch the surface of a 600-year-old piece of pottery. The next few weeks were a crash course in history and physics. I learned that age wasn't just about time past, it was about the specific history of each component. A restored painting with new touch-ups had weak spots where the modern paint was applied. Modern steel reinforcements in ancient structures felt like tissue paper compared to the original stonework. I started carrying an antique pocket watch instead of my phone. Bought vintage clothes from thrift stores. Replaced my furniture with estate sale finds. My apartment became a museum of its own, filled with items that wouldn't disintegrate at my touch. Then came the night that changed everything. I was doing my regular rounds when I heard voices in the Egyptian wing. The museum had been closed for hours. I radioed in a possible breach but got only static in response. The security cameras were down. As I approached the voices, I heard the distinct sound of power tools. 3 figures in black were attempting to remove one of our most precious artifacts, a solid gold funeral mask from the new Mudidim period. "Stop right there," I commanded, stepping into view. They turned, and I saw they were wearing sophisticated night vision gear. One raised what looked like a very modern pistol. I almost laughed. The gun might as well have been made of chalk for all the good it would do them. The bullet crumbled to dust the moment it left the barrel. Their confusion gave me the opening I needed. I grabbed the nearest object, a 3,000-year-old ceremonial staff mounted on the wall, and swung it like a bat. The staff, ancient wood hardened by millennia, connected with modern body armor that offered all the protection of wet cardboard. 2 of them went down hard. The third dropped his tools and ran. I gave chase, but he was heading toward the Greek and Roman wing. I smiled. He couldn't have picked a worse escape route. I snatched a Bronze Age sword from a display as I ran. The blade, which had survived countless battles and centuries of burial, felt like an extension of my arm. The thief tried to use a grappling gun to reach a skylight. The modern rope snapped like thread. When the police arrived, they found 3 very confused criminals zip-tied with ancient leather straps that might as well have been adamantium. The official report cited equipment malfunction as the reason for their failed heist. Riley found me the next morning, still at my post, examining an obsidian knife that predated written history. "Rough night?" she asked, noting my disheveled appearance. "Nothing I couldn't handle," I replied, carefully returning the knife to its display. "Just doing my part to preserve history." She nodded and moved on to her conservation work, while I resumed my rounds. Around me, the accumulated weight of human history stood silent and strong, ready if I ever needed it again. Modern problems, as it turned out, sometimes required ancient solutions. I've been at the museum for 5 years now. Other security jobs might pay better, but none of them give me the same sense of purpose. Besides, where else could I find a workplace where everything gets stronger with age? These artifacts have survived centuries to reach us. The least I can do is make sure they survive a few centuries more. Just don't ask me to change any more light bulbs. That's what the maintenance crew is for.